But Esther's being raised to become a Canine Companions for Independence assistance dog for a person with a disability. To get there, she needs lots of loving care and attention, plenty of exercise, and good eating habits so that she can live a long and healthy life for her future family. And she needs to spend tons of time socializing, learning basic commands like sit and stay, and taken to fun places with lots of distractions so that she can learn to cope in every situation. All of this will prepare Esther for more professional training to become a real assistance dog and a life helping a person with a disability to live more independently. Are you ready to open your heart and home for 18 months to a puppy like Esther? To find out more about becoming a Canine Companion for Independence Puppy Raiser or about other volunteer opportunities, visit cci.org or call 1-800-572-BARK. Raise a puppy, change a life. You can make a world of difference in the life of a person with a disability.
Canine Companions for Independence is a nonprofit that provides highly trained assistance dogs free of charge to people with disabilities. At their national headquarters in Santa Rosa, California, the work starts before puppies are even born. They work hard to meticulously select and pair dogs for breeding. Litters are then raised in homes with volunteers. At the same time, a request for an application is submitted online. As the applicant's paperwork is being filled out and sent, the quickly growing 8-week-old pups are...
Please like and subscribe our videos online, and if you know our videos online, I'm sure you listen to my terrible voice over the airways. I'm just kidding. Anyway, we have a special guest, and this is something that's near and dear to my heart. First, let me say, because I've been through many of the graduations through this organization, but I've also helped volunteer. I've been to their dog fest before in Florida, so I'm really fond of the organization. It's Canine Companions for Independence, and you will learn more. If you haven't worked, we've already showed the PSAs, but you will learn more as the interview goes on. And this is Lauren Ferraioli. Did I get it right, Lauren?
You did. Very good.
Thank you. And we've talked to Lauren before, but this will be a better interview. And Lauren is part of the graduate program manager and senior instructor for Canine Companions for Independence for the Northeast region of the company. So, Lauren, thanks so much for coming on and spending time with the listeners and the viewers.
I'm pleased to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right. So, Lauren, tell a little bit about the viewers and the listeners, of course, a little bit about you.
About myself, I am, like you said, the graduate program manager for the Northeast region. I've been with Canine Companions for 17 years, and for 10 of those years, I trained the dogs in professional training, evaluated them to be service dogs for the folks that we serve. And so my role now really makes me the go-to dog expert for the recipients of those assistance dogs.
Okay. So working with CCI for 17 years, did you always want to work with animals in general, or was that a love from a little girl to an adult, or was that just something that you kind of came upon through recent times?
We lost the camera. I think we lost the camera. Sorry, guys.
It's all right, we'll move forward.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've always had a love for animals ever since I was a little girl, and I was going to the local community college to get my associate's degree in liberal arts. And for those of you that know what that means, it pretty much means you don't know what you want to do for a career. So that's what I was doing. And I happened to have a class in the veterinary program that they had at the community college. And there was a job advertisement for Canine Companions there. They were obviously looking for someone who was going into the vet field. It was a part-time job in their kennels to help, clean up after the dogs, feed them, medicate, general, taking care of the dogs in professional training. And I saw that, it sounded right up my street, wanted to get involved, got the job, worked in the kennels for 3 years, and then, finished up with college, decided I wanted to get more involved. The organization was a great way to work with dogs, which I always loved, but to use those dogs to help people at the same time. And that to me just seemed like the best job you could ever have. And so they have a great on-the-job training program where they teach you how to train dogs, essentially. And it's an apprenticeship. There's 3 levels. And, I got involved with that, and the rest is where I am today.
So what does a graduate program manager and a senior instructor do exactly?
The senior instructors are the ones that evaluate and train the dogs the nearly 50 commands that they're taught here in professional training. They also are responsible for making the matches that we do with the folks that we serve, and then teaching those people how to work with their assistance dogs. So that's the instructor part. My role now is that I don't train the dogs or evaluate them anymore for placement, but I provide, one of the wonderful things we do here at Canine Companions is that we provide ongoing support to all of our recipients. So if you come to us and you're placed with a dog, you have to participate in a 2-week training course that we call team training. And then after that, you take the dog home and it becomes your assistance dog. And there's always going to be that ongoing support portion. We don't just, place dogs and say, good luck. All of our recipients are required to be seen by us in person to make sure the dogs are well cared for, the teams are doing well. And that's my main role, is to ensure the quality of our placements and to also provide any kind of support that these recipients need, whether it's a training problem that they're having, if they're having veterinary medical issues with the dog, which is very rare, but as the dogs age and get older, of course, that's going to be part of the support I provide. And then ultimately the retirement of that dog. When does that happen? How does that happen? And, providing that emotional support to the recipient at that point.
Oh, sorry about that. What are the main issues as the dog ages on that you see in a canine companion dog? Obviously, with every dog is different. There's some dogs that are pushed in wheelchairs. There's some dogs are more companion dogs. So what do you see usually in general as like the dogs age on as far as medical issues?
Yeah, good question. You're right. It is. A case by case. It's always different. It depends on the dog's job, what they do every day for the person, and then obviously the dog's health in general. We have our own breeding program. So we breed Labrador Retrievers, Golden Retrievers. We mix the two to make a Lab Golden Cross. And with that, we're able to breed for specifics and not just temperament and what our recipients need from their dogs, and make them perfect in that way, but we also breed for health. So we're looking at making sure our breeders are, in peak top physical shape. And so that means that a lot of health issues don't come up, but obviously when your dog gets into its senior age, just by the nature of getting older, you're going to start to encounter your pretty standard typical conditions. The dogs are slowing down, they're developing arthritis, so they're getting arthritic changes. We emphasize to all of our recipients, you have to keep your dog healthy, keep them at a healthy weight. Here's how you do it. And, make sure that they're seen on a regular basis by your veterinarian just for, checkups. So, and, oral care, dental hygiene, also important to prolong these dogs' lives, but also to prolong their working lives as well.
Right. So another thing that we see that CCI has grown over the years, we see the building in the Texas campus over at Baylor, where they built, I believe, another building over there. Can you talk about the growth of CCI, and even, as you're working in the Northeast region, talk about the growth there also?
Yeah, for having been with the organization so long, I've seen a lot of growth, mostly in the placements that we're able to make, the number of placements that we're able to make, meaning the number of people that we're able to serve. So just to give you a little example, we just expanded our program to include dogs for veterans with post-traumatic stress. And so this program, the dogs that are placed within it are being taught a different set of skills aside from our general program. Primarily we have historically placed dogs with folks who are affected by their disability in such a way where their mobility is going to be limited. So they're using wheelchairs, different types of mobility equipment, but expanding into this post-traumatic stress program, these dogs are being taught specific skills to help alleviate the symptoms of that disorder.
Okay. So will you tell the difference between, because we get this all the time, and I'm sure viewers that don't really know much about service dogs and companion dogs, what is the difference between those two sets of dogs as far as people receiving them?
Good question. So those two categories, we have a service dog that is placed with a person who is over the age of 18 and can also independently handle the dog on their own. So this is a dual placement. It's a recipient and a dog, just two entities. The skilled companion placement is usually, it's going to involve more than two people. So this is a placement made with someone who is either under the age of 18 or who is otherwise unable to handle the dog independently. So then we bring in the assistance of an able-bodied facilitator. So a lot of times this is, parents, siblings, a spouse, somebody who lives with the recipient who handles the dog and facilitates the commands and skills that we have taught the dog for the recipient.
Okay. And obviously you spoke about earlier on that, these dogs do 50 commands. You talk about how expensive it is for the veterinarian care for these dogs. How much around does it take to raise one of these dogs? When you guys, you breed them and stuff, but that's got to be quite a bit of money to, get them all the care, the shots, all that stuff.
Yeah, if you take everything into consideration, from the breeding, the whelping, the raising, the training, the healthcare, all of that together, we've estimated to be $50,000 per dog.
Wow. So now how does a nonprofit organization raise that kind of money with, you guys place probably about hundreds of dogs throughout the organization every year for people with a disability. How do you guys raise all that money?
See, it's a very good question. We have generous donors. We're privately funded. They make our mission possible. We have events throughout the year, specialty events like Dog Fest is a really great thing that anyone can participate in, and visit our website for more information. That's caninecompanions.org or cci.org. And we raise money through there. We have volunteers that raise our puppies. So these folks take our dogs into their homes for the first 18 to 24 months of their lives. So they take an 8-week-old puppy, raise it for a year and a half, and prepare it for this assistance dog world. So without our generous donors, and without our volunteer puppy raisers, those two entities, those are truly the backbone of what we're able to do and the lives we're able to change.
Right. So let's talk about the puppy raising. So it's 18 months, then it goes back to you guys, where it goes through the team training with you guys, as far as correct?
Yes, that is correct. Okay. So the professional training portion takes from 6 to 9 months to train them, prepare them, evaluate them in our professional training program with our professional training staff.
So what happens with the dogs that, I'm sure most of the dogs make it, but there are some dogs, correct, that don't make it, that maybe don't have the right temperament, or you just don't have it doesn't have a need for a person that's in that graduating class. What happens with those dogs?
Yeah, it definitely happens. We have a pretty high success rate. 40% of our dogs are deemed appropriate for assistance dog work. Not every dog is going to be, you have to be pretty perfect to be able to be a working dog. And that's there's a lot of things we take into consideration. It's not just, does this dog like to work? Because that's a big thing. They have to want to please and they have to want to do their jobs. But we take into consideration the health of the dog, the history of the dog. What are they like in the home? Do they try and raid the trash every time, you leave them home alone? Or do they see a bird and want to chase it? Those things that are fine for a pet dog to do, most of the people we serve, they're going to be limited by their disability, where their strength is going to be limited, where a dog yanking after a bird or a cat, or if they see another dog, that's going to be a huge safety risk.
Right. Well, what I'm curious to know on my own part is that, you have all these dogs that are going through the training, and you have all different people with all sorts of needs as far as disabilities in general. How do you guys sort through what dog is the best dog for that person? Is it basically on personality and the disability? I mean, that's got to be pretty incredible to know with a dog that obviously doesn't talk to you, so you can't get the information off them. So how do you guys do that? I think that's incredible.
Yeah, it's a good question. Our matching process is pretty remarkable. We, in order to be eligible for our program to receive an assistance dog, you have to go through a 5-step application process. And during that process, we're able to get to know the applicant. What are their needs? What's their lifestyle? Where do they go on a regular basis? What do they need the dog to do for them? And, what's their household like? We get to know them very intimately during that process and then determine, okay, you can be successful in our program. We could certainly serve you. Then they enter onto our waiting list. And so what happens there is once they're at the top, and we have a team training coming up, then we take a look, okay, people on our waiting list, dogs in our training program currently, and then do the matching process sort of preliminary before we invite a recipient to attend the team training course to be eligible to receive one of those dogs. So again, we know the applicants very intimately. We know everything about them, what they need, their lifestyle, all of that. Now we can take a look at these dogs who we know equally as intimately as well at that point, because we know the history of the dog. We know them from training them in the professional training process, but also there's an evaluation process there too. What is this dog like? What do they like to do? Who do they need as a handler? Because you're right, every dog is different, just like people are different. And we can't just place, the first dog on the list with the first person on our list. We have to take a look at what the dog's needs are and what the person's needs are.
Right. A couple more questions before we go. We just talked about a little bit before that about the puppy raising program. How do you guys find people to do that? That's talk about expensive too. As you said about what you guys do is expensive. What they do expensive, and they do it for free. And I know there's quite a few kids on college campuses that now do that. Yeah. Can you talk about those programs too?
Sure. In the Northeast region alone, we have currently 7 different colleges and universities participating in this puppy raising, quote unquote club, where there's college students who are raising our pups from 8 weeks to, 18 months. And, these volunteers are truly the backbone of our organization. We wouldn't be able to make these placements and serve all the people we do without them raising our dogs. So it's a huge job. It's a huge responsibility. And here's the thing, I've raised 2 puppies myself. You go into it knowing why you're doing what you're doing. It's not for everybody. So a lot of people are going to look at the program and say, well, I can never do that because how could I not get attached and I could never give the dog back? And you say that, but if you were committed to the program and you were committed to having an impact on somebody's life, you play a huge role in changing somebody's life. And so when you go into, getting that baby puppy and spending the 18 months raising it to be as perfect as you can make it, then you're committed to the mission. You're committed to getting that dog to be successful in the program. And a lot of folks that raise our dogs, they do it over and over again because they kind of get hooked in a way. But it does become easier when, you're sending one dog off to college. I mean, it's very similar to that. Yeah. Then that same day, you're picking up another puppy to start over from the beginning. But to be able to see the impact that you've made, I mean, again, personally, I've done it myself. It's one of the best things I've ever done in my life. I can honestly say that. And it's because, that dog wasn't meant for me. It was meant for bigger things. And he's off there in the world because of me.
Right. So my question is for that, though, is that with the puppy raisers and even people that get the CCI dogs, I know you with the people that need the CCI dog for their needs, they go through a background check. But what about the people that are raising the dogs? I mean, we talked about college kids, but even regular kids, they have their own lives, especially college kids. They're in and out. They might be going to a party. They may have school. They may have their own social life. How do you make sure that the puppy's for sure getting well taken care of, where, somebody could, and all the money that you guys put into to get that dog, the breeders in general, that dog is not, being hung out to dry at a dorm room or at a house in general?
Yeah, it's a good question. We have an application process where we're able to evaluate the same kind of stuff, lifestyle. Are they committed to the mission? What do they know about dog training? And, what's their household like? Things like that. We take it very seriously, the role of volunteer puppy raiser, so we don't accept everybody to the program to raise our puppies. But we do currently have just over 200 active puppy raising placements located throughout the Northeast region. And all of those puppies are being supported by our puppy program, which entails, a professional who is there to support our puppy raisers. We, just like I do that with the graduate side, there's staff that do participate, our volunteers as well. The puppy raisers are required to submit monthly reports to us. We need to make sure the pups are doing well. They always can reach out for support whenever they need it. And we do also provide workshops once a year at 5 different locations located throughout the Northeast region, where we go there in person, provide hands-on training with the volunteers, and they're also supported by their local volunteer chapters located throughout the region too. So those are longtime puppy raisers who have done it 20, 30 times. They've raised a lot of puppies, and they all support each other in with their raising as well, which is a great community to be a part of.
3 more questions. The first one would be going through team training or even just working at CCI. I'm sure you see special stories and special relationships that develop between a dog and a person. Can you talk about one or two of those stories in particular that you saw through team training, as I said, or just being around CCI?
There's so many. It's a really good question. I could tell you right off the top of my head is we recently made a placement, one of our first placements with the veteran with PTSD. And if you know anything about the disorder, a lot of the symptoms are anxiety related. And social anxiety specifically. So, kind of not feeling, confident enough to leave your home, to go out there in the world, to be social, you kind of lose that piece of you. And the dogs can have a dramatic impact on, help alleviating the anxiety, social anxiety, any anxiety you feel about leaving your home. And so one of our recent placements, a recipient who, it's only been a few months actually, she was able to not only leave her home, but take a trip out of state on a plane and is now currently actually moving to a different state. And she says to us, I would never have been able to do that without the help of my dog. He's just had a dramatic impact on my life already.
Right. Last question. we talk about fake service dogs all the time. You hear stories of dogs mauling people on airplanes. We've, me personally, been to theme parks, seen dogs bark at me. How did the viewers and the listeners tell between a real service dog, a fake service dog? Have you guys also been pushing? I know CCI a little while back, they had a petition to sign about maybe making a government ID or some sort of stricter regulation on this, because it's really gotten out of control where people are getting attacked, and it gives people that legit have disabilities a bad name.
Yeah, good question. You're right. These imposter service dogs pose a very serious threat to our dogs that are out there and the handlers of those dogs. And Canine Companions has been at the forefront of proposals to new legislation amendments that are going to help, we hope, to tighten the laws regarding public access for assistance dogs, quote unquote. And so how can you tell the difference? Well, the ADA states that an assistance dog is, one, a dog, it's limited to a dog. Two, it should not cause any kind of disturbance to the public. And so assistance dogs don't bark at people. They don't sniff people. They're under control of the handler. And how we like to put it, and what we tell all of our recipients, is that your dog should be invisible when out there in the world in a public place where pet dogs aren't allowed. You're an ambassador for all service dogs throughout the world. And so we train our dogs to behave that way, to behave appropriately. They're barking, greeting, soliciting attention from people, causing a disturbance, or getting excited when they see another dog. Those are all things that if we see them in our dogs, we can't place a dog like that, because the ADA states that our dogs should be under control, well managed, and, kept out of the public, disturbance in a sense. They shouldn't disturb any kind of public situation. And our handlers are all taught to do that. And that's part of our program, is to evaluate each team on a regular basis to make sure they're still adhering to those guidelines, and what the law says about what assistance dogs are. So that being said, if you see a dog that is not under control, that is not listening to their handler, who is barking, who is toileting, who is running up and growling and snarling at other dogs or people, you are within your right to let the management know that, look, that's not a legitimate service dog. That dog, you can ask them to leave. The law states that if that dog's causing a disturbance, they're violating the law.
Yeah, I lied. One more question. We see in the news, and we just saw this a couple of days ago, the airlines are pushing no more emotional support dogs on planes. They're getting rid of that. Are you worried about, with them doing that step, now they could do something with service dogs where you have to show some sort of identification? Or is that a good thing that, hey, we get rid of one problem with all these people with bringing fake dogs? But what I think is, people, you say, okay, we'll get rid of the emotional support. People will just say, they'll bring their own dog and just say it's a service dog, and you can't do anything to question them. And I think that's going to just keep becoming a problem. Yeah,
I think what they're trying to do is great. I think that they're also trying to define what a service dog is more too. So it's one thing, you're right, to say no more emotional support animals whatsoever. And also the addition of, okay, assistance dogs need to behave a certain way. And I know that the Air Carrier Act has also is also considering some sort of test or evaluation for all of these dogs that are quote unquote assistance dogs, so that they can make a determination if that dog is legitimate or not. Any one of our dogs from Canine Companions would certainly be able to pass that test and evaluation. And if you ask any of our recipients, especially those who have come in contact with those dogs that have posed a threat to them in the tiny cabin of an airplane, they would gladly applaud any kind of evaluation required by the airlines.
All right. And Lauren, lastly, where can people find more about CCI and get involved?
You can find more about Canine Companions by visiting our website, caninecompanions.org or cci.org, or you can call us for more information. 1-800-872-BARK. That's 1-800-872-BARK.
Lauren, thanks so much for your time, and we look forward to talking to you again sometime soon.
Thank you, Rob. Sorry about the camera issues.
Yeah, no worries. No, I appreciate the time, Lauren. We'll talk soon.
All right, sounds great. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Bye now.
Thanks.